Hello, everyone. Roger Kern at rogersactingtips.com. Welcome. Good to see you. I saw a posted question the other day online that put me in mind of a post that I did recently about my favorite production of Romeo and Juliet by Franco Zeffirelli. It's a gorgeous film with Olivia Hussey and Leonard Whiting. And the person that was asking the question was asking what Tybalt's activities were. And I'm not sure that he had the scene reference correct, but I thought I would talk a little bit about Tybalt's through line in Romeo and Juliet. He kind of plays the villain in a way, but there really is no heavyweight villain. It's more a family feud, bad blood between two different families. And if you recall the whole thing about gangs, that's how it came about in West Side Story, that they used Romeo and Juliet as the two families model for gangs fighting against each other, the Sharks and the Jets. But Tybalt, in the production of Romeo and Juliet with Franco Zeffirelli anyway, and the several productions that I've seen and the one that I directed years ago, actually serves as the antagonist all the way. In the very top of the show, he's involved in a street brawl, which kind of reopens the wound of the feud, as it were. And then shortly after, just before the balcony scene, we see Tybalt spot Romeo sneaking into the masquerade ball thrown at the Capulet's house. And Tybalt is a Capulet, Romeo's a Montague, sworn enemies. And so he wants to challenge Romeo for destroying their party, to breaking up their party, ruining their solemnity. And he wants to kill him. He doesn't want to just challenge him. He has a servant get his rapier, and he wants to challenge him to a duel. His uncle, he is actually the nephew of Lady Capulet, but by marriage, Lord Capulet, her husband, is his uncle. And he tells his uncle that that is Romeo and a Montague, and I will not tolerate his presence. I will now go take my rapier and kill him. And Lord Capulet says, calm down, you saucy boy, behave. Romeo is behaving like a gentleman. He means no harm. This is a great party. Let's not ruin it. Let's have our family fun. Tybalt won't have it. He makes a bit of a scene, and Lord Capulet gets angry and says, this is my house. I'm the Lord here, or do you think you are? And with that, Tybalt backs off angrily and seethes away. And then later on, of course, at the beginning of Act 3, he shows up wherein Mercutio, an old dear friend of Romeo, and actually, I think, cousin to the Duke, actually is horsing around and kind of exchanging insults with Tybalt, but Tybalt is a bit of a bully and a hothead and doesn't take it lightly and begins swordplay. And Mercutio is messing around, having a duel with Tybalt, but it starts to get tempered. It's a hot day in Verona, and tempers are flaring. But Romeo shows up in the middle of it and says, hey, stop this. The Duke has told us to not fight on pain of death. And however, when he comes between Tybalt and Mercutio, Tybalt stabs Mercutio under Romeo's arm without Romeo even seeing it. But it's a fatal wound, and Mercutio dies. Angry that Tybalt wouldn't heed his warning and his good intentions, because now remember, by now The last scene that we saw him in, where he saw Romeo at the mask, that's where he and Juliet fall madly in love. And then shortly thereafter, the famous balcony scene, that wonderful scene in that film by Franco Zeffirelli. And so he's trying to keep peace because Tybalt is about to become a relative, at least he hopes. And now it's gone really bad. Tybalt has killed Mercutio, relative to the Duke, and his dear friend. And so he cannot help it. Romeo's temper gets hot, and he fights Tybalt. And even though he probably shouldn't have won, he's so angry that his energy and his ferocity overcome the bully, Tybalt, and he kills him. So that's Tybalt's through line in Romeo and Juliet. And I strongly encourage you to see that wonderful film by Franco Zeffirelli, because it is such a good accounting of that brilliant script, and so well spoken and so beautifully shot. It's such a beautiful film. Your eyes will be entertained, if nothing else. But I believe me, much more than just that. But the visual is not to be compared to anything. It's just outstanding. So I wanted to share that information about Tybalt. And if you're interested in studying Shakespeare, I strongly suggest you start reading Shakespeare plays. You have to get used to the language. Remember, it has its own rhythm, and rhythms are very unique, especially with Shakespeare, when you realize he wrote most of his plays in verse, a verse called iambic pentameter. And it takes a little bit of practice getting used to reading it, let alone acting it. And so that is quite a challenge for a young actor. And I strongly suggest that if you're interested in that, you get started right away. And if you're going to approach acting, please check out my new class that I have online. I'm offering it through my website, rogersactingtips.com. It's called Acting Formula 101. I purposely name it that so that I remember to remind you and myself that there is no universal acting formula, just the one that you create for yourself to use uniquely, to bring out your unique qualities and share with an audience. And with that, I will just ask that when you go to the website, when you go to Rogers Acting Tips, make sure that you subscribe for free and send me an email and let me know what you're interested in. If you're interested in Shakespeare, we can talk about that. I offer acting classes online. I'm happy to work with people. Get a hold of me at rogersactingtips@gmail.com. I will respond to you. So thank you. On behalf of rogersactingtips.com, I'm Roger Kern. Thank you for watching and listening. Very grateful to have you here, and I will see you soon.